Today is a special day. It's the 22nd of December, which is, I wonder if anyone can tell me, it's the shortest day. Until now, our days have been getting shorter and shorter. The darkness has been extending. And today it changes. And imperceptibly at first, it begins to go the other way. The days get longer. The sun rises higher in the sky gradually. At least the way we look at it. The nights get shorter. The darkness is in different ways dispelled. Something changes today. It happens annually. It's just part of the cycle of life. You don't notice it at first. It takes several weeks. And of course, that can be, if we have cloudy and overcast weather, you don't notice it at all. And then suddenly, you have some bright days and you realize that the days are longer. It was always a time, different cultures in the world, different where people have celebrated the return of the sun. And there are many pagan origins, and we could talk all about this in a completely pagan sense. But when the gospel took root in, the Christian faith is not a Western religion. It's an Eastern religion. But as it took hold in the West, it encountered a whole heap of different practices. And holding this thought that we can speak of Jesus as the light of the world, we can speak of Jesus as the Son of Righteousness, we can speak of Jesus as the one, as the rising sun, who will, as we read, who'll come to us from heaven to shine on those living in darkness in the shadow of death and guide our feet into the paths of peace. They thought, well, we don't know when Jesus was born in the year, but this would be an appropriate time to acknowledge it. And it seems to me that's why Christmas is at this point in the year. And it was always a risk doing so, because there are all manner of different practices. And so the way we tend to celebrate our Christmas, some of these still hang on through our culture. They're shorn of any religious significance, but some of our customs really have, not Christian roots, they have pagan roots, and they become loosely attached to what Christmas is all about. But Christmas, from a faith perspective, is about Christ. It's about the astonishing reality that God himself, the Son of God, and he'd purposed to do this right from the beginning of time. He would make the world, but then at the appropriate point, he himself would enter it. And enter it in a physical way. I thought I'd maybe say one or two things about well, I don't know if you know why, or if any of the younger ones, I'm sure the adults will know why it is that our days get shorter and shorter and shorter, and then there comes a point, there's the winter solstice today, and then they begin to get longer again. So I thought I'd illustrate for you. Maybe I'll take a candle just to illustrate the sun. But the world obviously goes around the sun. But the world isn't like this. It's at an angle. So what happens is that at this time in the year, in the south, is angled towards the sun. in the height of summer, it's the top part where Britain is, which is angled towards the sun. And so it appears to us, the sun appears much higher in the sky. You see what I mean? Okay. That's not the only thing. In fact, there are all sorts of other things, but we'll just say one more. It's not a perfect circle. It's a slight ellipse. So that at this point, I'll begin here. At this point, we're slightly further away from the sun, than when we are at this point. Just a little bit. It's perfect. It's beautifully balanced. Actually, it's incredible. How I'll have to say, how anybody could think it all happened by chance. The more you look at it, I find that just almost incredible. But anyway. But because we're slightly nearer at this point than we are in the summer solstice, what that means is that our winters are milder than it tends to be in the south. And that's why the Arctic never gets as cold as the Antarctic. But it also means that our summers tend never to be quite as hot as they can be in the south. And of course, you'll have seen on our news the tremendous heat in the south, different parts of the world, and we see that in Australia, and so on. It's interesting. So at this point in the year, we are angled away from the sun, but we're slightly nearer. And while I was thinking about that, something came to me, and I don't know if this is particularly important for somebody, but I want to just mention this. There might be, for one or two, you might feel that you're going through a very dark time. Like we have just now, in terms of our position in relation to the sun. But God is nearer than you think. It might be very dark, but God is nearer than you think. And, of course, He has never left us. The whole rotation, we revolve around the sun. And we're designed to revolve really around God. We're designed to relate to Him. We're designed for fellowship and communion with each other, but also Him. Jesus said, "I am the light of the world. I've come as light so that no one who believes in me should remain in darkness." No one. That you may have the light of life. And I'd like to refresh again to us just simply the words of that psalm. How priceless is your unfailing love, both high and low amongst men. Wherever we are, there's refuge in the shadow of your wings. And as we come into that, they feast on the abundance of your house. You give them to drink. And so it's a beautiful phrase. To drink from the river of delights, your river of delights. For with you is the fountain of life. In your light, we see light.